And I started now recording the session.
All right.
Okay. So from now on, I will cut if there is anything that need in the beginning, but from now on, it's all recorded.
All right, dear. So let me start. First, I'm gonna share to talk about the agenda. I'm gonna share my screen to talk about the agenda. Please just give me a permission.
Okay, so share screen. Yeah, no. You
Yeah.
have now.
All right, dear. So you can see my screen now.
Yeah.
So we will start with the introduction about our session today. It's Wednesday, July 29. We want to get to know each other, others more, which is ice-breaking talk. With Mr. MUSTAFA CHOHAN, today we will discuss two main points, ERP finance and its key features and what do we mean by financial consolidations. We're gonna focus also on the importance of the ERP and CRM for the graduate students who don't know what to do and how to start their career path after they finish the university. And we will keep 5 minutes for Q&A questions if you have questions. So my pleasure for today having with us Mr. MUSTAFA. I'm gonna start today just to talk that as we have learned from our previous sessions that ERP system is made up of different enterprise resource planning applications that talk to each other and share a database. Each application within the ERP system typically focuses on the business area. You can combine different modules to meet your needs. So finance, human resources, sales, and logistics, which are the most popular starting points. We have also modules specific to industries from manufacturing to retail. So as ERP software has become an inevitable part of modern businesses, it hosts a world full of business functionalities that are designed to address inventory requirements, quality of finished products, manage production functions, oversee crucial business processes. So we got the benefits of ERP systems are many, but how does it benefit from the accounting and financial management department in the organization? The answer we'll discover today with Mr. MUSTAFA CHOHAN, who is a fellow member of the Chartered Association of Certified Accountants from ACCA UK, BSc Homes in Applied Accounting from Oxford Brookes University, and Microsoft Certified Specialist for Microsoft Dynamics. He's having 12 years of experience in implementing Dynamics solutions across a range of industries, and his academics in accounting and finance and his interest in information technology facilitated him to become the successful consultant in the area. He is currently acting as a managing director for a UAE-based Microsoft Dynamics consulting firm, Tech Ventures, and leading a team of consultants who are implementing Dynamics ERP solution across the globe. So welcome with us for today, Mr. MUSTAFA. It's our pleasure having you with us.
Thank you, Sana. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Thanks again, dear. Dear, actually, I'm gonna start with you with our first question we used to ask to our guests, which is, what do we mean, in your opinion, what do you mean by ERP and CRM solution?
Okay, ERP basically stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. And
can you raise your voice? Sorry, again, sorry, we can't hear you very well. You can raise your voice?
Yeah, so I was saying that ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. And when we say ERP, we are talking about the processes within an organization. So like, your supply chain processes, your procurement processes, your sales processes. And when we say ERP, you are not only automating your processes, but also you're bringing internal controls to your processes. You're bringing securities and controls to your organization so you can control your resources and assets of your company. On the other hand, when we say CRM is more focused towards customer relationship management. That's more like, you know, your customer satisfaction, how you start your business leads. For example, you know, you have leads, opportunities, you have sales quotation. It's more like before the operations. So the key difference is also that CRM solutions is more focused towards operations and the customer side, and the ERP solutions are more focused towards supply chain, financials, and accounting side of the businesses.
All right, dear. I will take your question, Muhammad. You used to ask, do you find that ERP, it's an ugly name, ERP?
What do you suggest as another name also? It could
Another,
be
yes.
to start getting involved, because I always call it ugly name.
Yes.
I never thought of this, whether it's an ugly name, but you know, ERP, I think could be maybe operational management tool or operation management solution. Sometimes people think that it's a resource planning, so it's all about the planning thing.
This is why.
Ideally, it's not only the planning, but it includes the management of the resources, the recording of the actual transactions, and comparing your budgets, variances, and all that stuff. So it's not only the planning, it covers more than that.
This is why we call it ugly name, because when we tell somebody ERP, do you know what's ERP? He said no. We explain it's enterprise resource planning. Okay, again, what does that mean? And it's more the explanation of ERP is also always more complicated than the name itself. This is why we call it once as ugly name, and we are asking.
So when we say ERP, so there's another word comes in mind, is an integration, right?
Yeah.
So ERP brings all the departments together. Yes.
So one solution to have all departments together managed in one solution.
Like, you know, maybe the old days when they were using only the accounting application, accounting software. So he doesn't know what's happening in the warehouse. The sales guy doesn't know what's the credit limit of the customer, how many invoices has been sent out, how many deliveries are happening in the operations. So ERP brought all these departments together, and the integration is a very, very important word. And if this broadcast is being listened by the newbies and new people coming in the industry, so they have to understand that it's all about data sharing. You are sharing the data with required stakeholders, with limited controls, so they can use the data properly.
Exactly, and the integration part is something very important now, because most of the people now, they are moving online, you know, and so they start to need this availability of e-commerce, online service, whatever, and you have the ERPs. It must be very well integrated, you know, to have a proper management of stock or availability or this productivity. Is very, very important topic that Mustafa mentioned, that the integration. It is one solution, but it has to be integrated with all the other solutions that the business is using to provide their product or services.
Definitely, yes. Actually, Mustafa, we will focus today about the finance part. So what do you mean first by finance management module and ERP system?
Okay, I would like to share my presentation as well. So
yeah, sure.
You can have.
Let me just share.
Click on
you can do that. Yes.
Okay. Let me know if you are able to see my screen.
Yeah, we see.
Okay, so I'm just gonna give you a very high-level overview. Like, you know, when we say financials, so financials covers, you know, it's a backbone of an ERP. Okay, it's the, you know, it covers the modules like general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash and bank management, fixed asset budgeting. So each and every module under the financial has an importance. So let's say if we say general ledger, so chart of accounts, dimensions, reporting, like chart of accounts is really the key to any implementation. So like, for example, if you can see some notes on the left side. So if, let's say, the chart of account is not planned properly, or they are not designed correctly as per the industry requirement or the customer requirement, the implementation will go fail. So we are not saying there will be some problem with the implementation. We are saying it's failed. So chart of account may be the successful implementation for any successful ERP implementation. It's one of the important factors. Similarly, the dimensions and cost centers, like, you know, it says that let's say your departments are there, your divisions are there, your organization hierarchy is there. So the consultant has to realize and understand properly what exactly the organization is dealing with. So if you say that, what exactly that comes under the financials, so you have, let's say, accounts payable. So in accounts payable, you deal with your vendors, so your suppliers, their invoices, their payments, their ledgers, their transactions. In account receivable, we have the customer management, the customer information, the credit limit for the customer, what are the payment terms, what are the agreed milestones, the payments from the customer, their transactions, their reports. In cash and bank management, we deal with the bank accounts, international transactions, your remittances, your bank reconciliations. You do it on a monthly basis, you do maybe on a weekly basis, depending on the organization. Your fixed assets, so you have the inventory, and the other hand, you have fixed assets. Fixed assets, you have your long-term assets, basically. So then you have acquisitions, depreciations, disposal, your budgeting, expense budgeting or revenue budgeting. So when we say financials, so financials covers all these aspects. Okay, from the very high level I try to explain on my screen. So overall, when we say financials, so most of the transactions in the financial modules comes from other modules. Like Mohammed said that we have integration. So if something is happening in the sales side, it comes to finance. If something happening in the purchase side, like you're recording the vendor invoice, this comes to financials automatically. So as an accountant, what I see, like I'm like half accountant, half consultant. So when I see myself as an accountant, so most of the work is done by ERP. I'm not doing any debit credits. I'm not doing any ledgers. All I'm doing is that I'm just checking, I'm reviewing, I'm looking at my ledgers, I'm preparing the trial balance, I'm preparing the financial statements. So this is all about the financial side. So maybe Sinar, if you have any question on that.
I think, yeah, Sinar, also, again, I would like to add here that at the end, everybody who make investment or investment to buy an ERP, the main purpose for them at the end is to know how much the company is getting profit or losing. So they know they need to result. This is why we call it the result of profit and loss. So the result of the financial year, because all the results are defined in a period of time. The only way to get this is the financial model in any ERP. And in order to get this financial model getting the right result, all financial entries must be integrated. So this is, as Mustafa also said, if there is any payment that is done online, if you are receiving online payments, or if there is some payments that are done, transferred to your bank, all these must be properly entered to your financial management and inside your ERP to get the right result. Otherwise, you will not get the right results. So all your data are not going to be good. So all your ERP is going to fail. So the most important part is this financial model to be well integrated and always consistent, give live data and proper data of your real financial situation of the company.
Nice, nice. Actually, can you let us know what are the key features of the financial module in ERP?
So generally, it's not only Dynamics, because we know that you are you have a specialty in Dynamics, but there are all the international ERP are now today they are the same. They include mostly the same features. So if you can get
features, the topmost features, like you can manage your chart of accounts, right? You have the reporting features, like for an accountant, they mostly spend time in closings, right?
Yeah.
They spend time in closing the month end or the year end. So in financial, any ERP, maybe you can say Oracle, SAP, or Dynamics. Now these closings are like, maybe it's like 30 minutes job. The accounts and balances are reflecting on your statements or your reporting financial statement, like trial balance, balance sheet, or profit and loss. So that's one thing. Other thing is that your double entry system, your debits and credits are automatically happening. So now your accountants has to be very smart. Traditionally the way of doing accounting on paper or maybe on Excel or any other software where they need to decide, okay, I need to debit this account, I need to credit that account, is all gone now. Okay, exactly. These are all configured And so your accountant decision making is not based on accounts now. His decision making is something else. You need to decide whether this customer is doing the transaction with this customer, whether it's risky or not,
Yeah.
whether I should allow this customer as a credit limit or, or I need to get an approval. As I said a couple of times, security, segregation of duties, and these credit limits. At the same time, financial solutions under ERP comes with approval workflows. So there you can, it's like very common these days, you have your approvals on your emails. So like people they're traveling or
the cash flow.
Yeah, so they're outside their office. So management is outside office, directors are outside office. So your work is not getting stuck, right? Someone can approve on the mobile phone or during the travel and all that. And one important thing is the segregation of duties, right? So in ERP, some ERPs provide you the reports, like, your one person is recording the invoicing, at the same time he's recording the payments as well. So your people or your audit team will know that, okay, we have to limit the duties and transfer some of the duty to other people. So there could be better internal controls within your operations.
I add to that, and this is very important what is Mustafa saying, that the financial features are really rich, and this is one of the things that will be enhanced, especially what he mentioned, the closing. It will be done faster because it's about time. Everybody's now today, they are talking about productivity and profitability, and these two factors in ERP, they are really connected to time. If you do the same activity in a faster way, this means you are more productive. This means more profitable because you will be able to do other things. So there is no more time to be spent to do debit credit or to decide which debit account, which system they will do it. So you will have more time to do more advanced analysis, as also Mustafa mentioned, that they will try to figure out if this customer is now on risk or in a provision not to be on that, or it will close. Or so, and one of the things that is really interesting in financial is the automation. So you can do bank reconciliation in a more automated way. So you can do it if you map properly the statement of your bank. So you can have this bank reconciliation done on a monthly basis quickly. You have the sprint check management also, as it is mentioned on the screen. It will be done also in an automatic way, and there's approval flows. So the automation, it will help much to gain time and to get more advanced, more time to do advanced activities on the system. This is also very important.
So, Hamad, you are mentioning one of my main questions, which is the benefits of using the ERP, financial part in the ERP. So, we got the time, we have the time, we save time, and the automation. What you can add, Mustafa, for the benefits that arises from using the financial module in ERP?
I think time is really important. One thing, yes. Time is important. But on the other hand, sometimes reporting is very important.
Reporting part, yes.
Yeah. So I have like in my career, where I have seen that people dive for the data. They have the data available in the database, but they cannot read it. They cannot view it. They cannot slice and dice to understand how the business is working. So we as a company, we have done a few projects on the Power BI and Tableau. These are like famous tools which are available on market. So so the basic things, the people look for basic things like, can I see my customer and who is buying what, right? Can I see my customers who couldn't we couldn't supply them the required inventory on time? Can I see who is my vendor, which I pay a lot, so I can go and discuss the rates with them? So these type of information is available in the system, but the problem in what I have seen is that a lot of consultants or the companies are not able to fill that gap. I mean, a lot of people are doing it, but it's a learning curve for the customer as well. So the reporting side maybe comes after 3 years, 4 years, when they have sufficient data available in the database. So reporting is one of the important tools what an important benefit they can get out of it.
Yeah.
And adding to this, that usually all the websites and all these systems that you are going to integrate with, usually they don't have these reports and tools available. So the advantage of the integration is to bring all your data in one place, so you will be able to check, for example, the number of days since the sales order is done to the payment. This you cannot do it in other system because you don't have all data. But in your ERP, you know when the payment was done and when the sales order was done on the website, for example. So you will be able to monitor the number of days of your receivables. So in case this number of days of receivable now it's changed big time. Let's say there is a lot of delays in your receiving payments. You need to make sure also to make another deals with your vendors to also push your payments. Otherwise, you will need more cash, and you need to reconsider your cash flow. And this is what is important in ERP. It will help you to take smart decisions. If you read your data, as Mustafa said, properly, you have all your data. And in Dynamics, for example, I'm sure about this, you have all your data available in your database. And you have some reports that I have a lot of customers, they never use this or they never run a report available in the system. So you have to run these reports. You have to read your data properly and to try to figure out your numbers properly in order to take the right decision. This is the most important of the ERP, importance of ERP, financial part.
How much it's hard to let your clients adapt to the features that you have with the ERP here.
Most of our how much they use of the features and how much it's hard as
so
it's a very important question.
So the best part, I'm not sure about Oracle or SAP, but the best part is that in most of the Dynamics products, like you have GP, AX, Business Central, NAV, all these ERP. So they are not modular licensed. They are like licensed on the user base. So if you even buy, let's say, one user, you get access to most of their features available. But the worst part is that customers are, in my experience, are not even using 30 to 40% of the ERP features. Okay.
Mustafa, can I ask you a question here? Just sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I used to be a partner. I worked with a lot of partners. The partner used sometimes the approach to hide some features on the customer, not to train them and not to give them and to lose time. Do you think that this is still valid in this?
Basically, in some instances I can say yes, and in some instances I can say no. So basically, when partners start the implementation, definitely there's a scope of work, right?
Yeah.
And they have to stick to that. The payments and the cost and everything is based on scope of work. That's one. Number two is that customers may ask, during the implementation, do you have this feature? So they will simply say no, because they don't want to get into it. Otherwise,
they want to reduce budget. Don't want to pay much.
Yes,
so you have to tell
definitely.
them.
So it's what we do, as a consultant, what I advise that, we can explain to the customer that, this feature is there, but it's not important at the moment, right? You can defer it. Once we complete the implementation, we'll discuss this. And there are a lot of different features that we can implement, but let's stick to one we have agreed so we can meet our timelines. So that's, I think, is a fair comment that we can, and the customer has to agree to it actually. And sometimes they don't.
But do you think that from the implemented features that you do usually for the customers, how much percentage, if you want to give the percentage example or over 10, the customer are using from these features? The dimensions, posting group, analysis by dimension, for example, in Dynamics, there is a lot of features that automatic bank reconciliation workflows. How much these percentage do you think in the first year? Is it also ascending? Do you think in your experience?
So I think in the first year, if the customer is managed to using 30 to 40% of the ERP, it's a very good number. Okay.
Sorry, 20?
30 to 40%. 30 to 40% in the first year. Okay.
Fair.
Definitely, there's a learning curve. Users are learning the ERP. They're learning the new processes. They're looking at the new screens. They're looking at the new reports. So it takes time, okay, to digest the new processes in the new year. It takes time. In the second year, the third year, or going forward, customer will be more confident. He will be more, more informed about the processes that he needs to implement, and he will understand better. I mean, from the first year, is the consultant's job to explain the processes, to implement the system, and customer is just learning. He's just like a student, right? And once he's used to the processes, maybe in subsequent years, the customer will be in more better positions to explain the pain points and explain what exactly and how well or how exactly they can improve the processes. So maybe into maybe like in a fourth year or the third year, customer will reach 70 to 80% of the processes, and he can start using it. But again, it depends on customer to customer. It varies a lot. Some of the customers I have seen in past, they are not using maybe like, not even 30%, and they're using the ERP since like 5 years now. So it depends on the interest, it depends on the needs, and how much they want, from the reporting side, the control side, how they want to invest in.
And it also depends on the team that they are within the customer, because if they know already the ERP, they use the ERP, they will be faster also to understand, to start getting profit. And I think, personally, I blame most of the time at the first stage is the universities, because they must teach all students that they're going to the market, the ERP, they must use it, guys. And it's not anymore Excel. They teach Excel. They used to teach us also Excel. And I have been graduated maybe 20 years back. We have been taught Excel because they know that we are going to use it in our work. Okay, while Excel is a product for a special supplier, but they were teaching us Excel in university. Now they must teach ERP, because everybody will go in the market and they will use ERP, even whatever the role. If he's a salesperson or marketing or doctor, even engineer, they will be using ERP to manage their business. So I think they must start from
every I think every profession has a should have some course. So like for example, we recently acquired, hired a few developers, and they were like university graduates, and unfortunately they were not even aware of the term ERP.
Yeah, this is surprising.
They know .NET, they know Java, they know C++, they know C#, they know all these stuff, but they don't know ERP. So I mean, for them, we are the second university. They're learning now, and they're getting paid and they're learning.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why we in Lebanon, we try to do like connections with all universities, and to give this opportunity to all university students in Lebanon to learn what is ERP and what is CRM, at least the introductory part. And we give a very special price. It's the cost price for all students all over the world to learn what is ERP and CRM, which is going to be better for their business, whatever they have. The major is whatever, even if they're not going to work in IT, they will be, it's going to be very profitable for them to learn what is CRM and what is ERP, because it will give them some of these best practices, international standards everywhere.
Yeah, I agree.
And since today we are focusing towards financials, I have a very comment for the new accountants coming into the market. So accountants are basically, when I'm being an accountant and being associated with the ACCA, what I see that accountants are losing jobs because of an ERP. I'm sorry to say that, but it's happening.
Exactly.
Traditionally, there were like 4 accountants and doing the job, but today ERP is cutting the job. So accountants has to be smart enough to sell themselves, like they know ERP, they know how to use it, and they know what exactly the role is. The role of an accountant is changing now. It's not traditionally like you are doing a ledgers and debit and credit. It's there,
financial
as basics. It's there, but now you have to become, as I said, a financial analyst, right, or maybe a reporting consultant, and you need to think out of the box, And unfortunately, I'm not seeing that part coming from the very good universities. Like, they are just teaching the basic accounting and the
Exactly.
financials and the reporting
Exactly.
side.
The accountant position, it's one of the positions that they are expecting to be not needed anymore, like the call centers. And because of this automation, artificial intelligence, and that's why I think, as you recommended and as you suggested for all accountant people, guys, I also suggest for you to go into ERP world. And maybe the partners of ERP, they can get use of accountant. They will be the best consultant for them, by the way, because they understand the most important part of the ERP, which is the finance. So they will be an excellent consultant. So I also suggest for them to learn ERP properly, and as Mustafa proposed, that they promote themselves as ERP experts, they will find better job, and they are more needed in the market now. There is a lot of jobs for ERP, but there is no much jobs for accountants anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, dear. Thanks for. We will talk more in details regarding the students and give advices for them. Actually, one more thing, we're gonna talk about the financial or the finance part in ERP. It's the financial consolidation. We used to hear this name, but which might mean different things to different people. So please, could you explain for us what do you mean first by financial consolidation with ERP system?
Okay,
Very
so
important topic, Mustafa.
yeah.
We would appreciate your details
So
on this.
basically, from the before we come into the ERP and consolidations, we need to understand why we need consolidations actually. So consolidations only are required when we are talking about the groups and the multiple companies, right? So they're like, there's one group and have multiple subsidiaries, or they have associates. Either they are like own 100% own subsidiary, or maybe 70%, or they have 20-25% own associate. So any ownership, any investments, any ownership. There we have a term called consolidation, and the term consolidation means that you have to consolidate the financial statements, like the profit and loss, the revenues and the cost and the gross profits and the net profits. You have to consolidate.
Because the consolidation is the level of the finance, right? It says
yeah, definitely. It's at the financial level. If you see at my screen, why I have one question that I have just put in my presentation. Why one company cannot just go in one legal entity and just ignore the consolidation? So basically, it depends on the legal situations and the scenarios. Like, for example, in UAE, we have two companies, and one company is dealing with softwares and other company is dealing with infrastructure, right? So it's because of the nature of the business, right? They are completely different. So when we say infrastructure, they are dealing with hardware, peripherals, and licensing and all that stuff. When we say softwares, they are only dealing with the services side. So one is the legal requirements. Second thing is you want the right people in the right company, right? So you don't want to mix them up. Like if you say operations and hardware and operations and software, they're like different people from different skill set. So they can manage their part properly when you separate them, from like managing it under one umbrella. You can see on the screen that we used a flag group having three legal entities. One is flag farms, which like grow vegetables or fruits, and then they sell to flag stores where customers can visit, and they have the retail store. They can have like hundreds of stores, and then flag e-commerce. Ideally, they are like in farms. It's like a same industry, but the flag group, what they did actually, they segregated the retail chain, the supply chain, right? So one legal entity is more focused on the production, one retail store is more focused on selling on stores, and one legal entity is more focused on the IT side and selling online, right? So this way they can increase the productivity and increase the numbers and from the profit and loss and and maybe the profits and revenue numbers. So how you consolidate and what exactly you consolidate? So you consolidate your financial statements. So if you say you have international reporting standards, you have accounting standards, these standards require you to consolidate the financial statements at the profit and loss level, at the balance sheet level, and cash flow statement level. So why you consolidate. So the reader, like for example, I want to invest in a company, that's a flag group. I want to invest in this particular company. So if I'm not able to read it properly, like what is the financial position of the flag group, I will not be able to take a proper decision. So I have to prepare my financial statements, which are as per the standards, plus they give true and fair view, and they are consolidated properly. For example, let's say flag farms or flag stores, they are doing really good in numbers, but the flag e-commerce is about to go bankrupt and they have a lot of liabilities. So if they're not consolidated properly and I'm not able to read that information properly, I might, invest in a company which is gonna go bankrupt. So that's the whole purpose of the consolidation. From the ERP perspective, these consolidations take place maybe in a click of a button, like, it takes 15 minutes or 20 minutes time, but definitely you have to plan it properly, okay? Sometimes I say that go old way. So you match your numbers before doing these processes. So you are expecting now some numbers from ERP. So they are like, those numbers are available with you. And then you run these processes on ERP. You have to, think of the foreign entities. Let's say you're one of the legal entities in UK, which deals in euro or pound. One of the entity is in Canada, which deals in Canadian dollar, and one in US dollars. So you have to think of what is the exchange rate applicable. You have to think of the local laws. Sometimes, they say that, okay, when you consolidate, you have to consider the different depreciation method, maybe the different taxation values. So, you have to look into those things and think of any adjustments, maybe intercompany transactions, the sell. Like, for example, for any company, selling one company selling to other can increase the revenues. So when you say intercompany during the consolidation, you have to eliminate those transactions. So you are not overstating your revenues or overstating your profits.
So interesting, especially that it's very important to have this financial results at the level of the group, because some of the case as Mustafa said, that the company they will be losing, especially when they are like cost center. And for example, if there is any company that is doing service, let's say the distribution company of the group, it might be losing because it is doing a lot of distribution for other companies and cost amount. So it's very important to understand the financial figures and result at the level of the group to be able to decide if this group is profitable or not. So and this consolidation, it was a headache a long time ago, and before the old way, it was really a headache. It took days of preparation, and sometimes there is a lot of human errors. Now with the ERP, it helped much, but as also Mustafa mentioned, you have to be careful about the exchange. As a tip, I like the tips that was mentioned here, the planning and the exchange rate and the local reporting rules. And the old way, you have to double check to make sure that you have your consolidation properly done in order to consider it on ERP. So make sure to check these duplicate also activities and all this.
Thanks, Mustafa, for sharing.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah, it's really
thanks for sharing. Actually, Mustafa has sent us the presentation to be shared later if someone asks about it, so you can contact us directly, the one who is watching this video later on. So you can contact us and we'll send you the presentation. Thanks again, Mustafa. Actually, Mustafa, I'm gonna ask you, what do you mean by of having ERP following IFS, which is the International Financial Standards, or IFR, which means International Financial Reporting Standards?
Okay, so basically, every profession is governed by something, right? Like doctors have some standards, and even if you're doing an ERP for, let's say, Microsoft, so they have some, some best practices, So even like for accountants, there are some best practices. These are like bodies, which internationally they discuss, and depending on the situation, they give, their direction to the companies and the authorities that this is how this should be accounted for. For example, some years back, the way the revenue recording, to record the revenue of the rentals, it was different. right? And then the standard came in, I think, for the operation lease, that it has to be changed. So a lot of people found it very difficult to adopt it, and to change the accounting mechanism, and to adopt an ERP, like the functions within an ERP. So basically, these standards, in a very summary way, I can say that these standards gives you how to do an accounting. They give the governance, right? Not exactly the debits and credits, that's like the basics, but they tell you, okay, this particular transaction has to be done this way. Like, for example, the consolidation we are discussing. So which entity you have to consolidate, right? So there's a very clear, I think, there's one of the standard is available which clear the directions that this is how you need to consider the consolidation. If your subsidiary is owned 70%, and these are the methods of doing it. How and what exchange rate you need to use. So these all rules and regulations are provided by these standard IAS, International Accounting Standards, and IFRS, which is International Financial Reporting Standards.
Yeah.
And I think
I
this
would
is a
like
very
to have
important
your
topic.
opinion. Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very important
Yeah.
topic.
And one more thing I need to add. So like I'm in the ERP side, and I'm also an accountant. So basically, the important thing is that when we were studying these standards, we were continuously updating our knowledge and updating our like how these standards are working. But it's very difficult sometimes to keep us updated because all these regulations are coming on very frequent basis. So it's very important for an ERP consultant, or the ERP consultant from an accounting background, to keep these standards updated in his knowledge. So whenever he is going in a discussion with a customer, or the customer is asking that we have an auditor who want to discuss a scenario with you, so he should not be a blank. He should know what exactly the discussion is happening about.
I think, and this is also, as I mentioned, it's a very important topic, especially then that there is a lot of ERPs and local ERP, they do not follow these international financial standards. So as Mustafa said in the beginning, everybody who's gonna work with finance, they must be aware about international financial standards, even if their local companies might not be applying this, because some countries, they do not impose these financial standards are still not imposed by every country. These are international standards that it's good to follow. It's like ISO, for example. Sometimes if you are following these standards, it's going to be like good assurance that you are a good quality. So having this international ERPs is some of the assurance or quality that you are having ERPs following international financial standards, but it's very important to know these standards and to apply them while you are using ERP, because you can use an ERP with financial standard and broke these standards. We have a lot of requests coming from Lebanon. There is a lot of companies, they always would like to they hate the fact that you cannot change anything after posting, for example. They always require certain ways to change after posting, and this is where the people, they start to turn around these standards and start to apply special case for everything. I think that following best practice and financial standards, it's always, like I said, when you do things right, you get the right results. But when you start to follow bad ways,
workarounds,
you might reach a good result, but you might not. You might at any time lose all this. So I also suggest and recommend, and I think it's good for us to follow on this matter. If we maybe make a special session to discuss certain international financial standards, that it's always good for all people working GRP to know about, and to follow. It could be a good subject also in the coming weeks. So maybe also we can do another session with Mustafa and prepare this. So what are these financial standards that it's good as a ERP user or consultant to know about them and to follow them, and to select maybe best 5 or 10 international financial standards. But it's good to
Thank you,
mention.
Muhammad. Yes, yes. Well, we can discuss this point maybe with a specific topic for a session. Actually, if we'd like Mustafa to join, it will be our pleasure. Actually, dear Mustafa, with our previous sessions and during our session today, we have mentioned and focused on the importance of ERP and CRM for graduate students who are frustrating to start their career path. So, what is your advice here for these newborn? I have named it a newborn career students. So, what your advice? What do you recommend to start building their skills?
So basically, when you say new graduates, okay, so they can be from a business school like maybe an ACCA or MBA or PBA, or they can be from software engineering side. Um, so basically, if you can see on my screen, so we have a lot of roles. Okay, these could be your the first role in an industry, like for example, functional consultant. You can start as a business analyst, right? And you start analyzing the business and getting involved yourself in implementation, sometimes as data migrations. So you become the functional consultant. So the role for the functional consultant is that you understand the product. So this is a very, very important thing that you can see on the most of the designation. It's a consultant written over there. So when I say consultant, so consultant means expert, right?
Yeah.
So consultant has to be at least to my thinking should be at least 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years experienced person. Before that, we should not call that person as a functional consultant. He can be a business analyst, right? Or it can be the application engineer or something like that, right? Because when we say consultant, so you can say that you cannot, I mean, I have seen a trainee consultant. So there's nothing like a trainee expert, right? Or a doctor you're visiting, you say, oh, this is my first day at, being a doctor.
Yeah.
So it's not like that. So I think you can start a career as a business analyst if you're from the business school, or you can start as a trainee development or a trainee software engineer for the development side. But if you look at the career, like what kind of path you can take. So for example, if you're being a functional consultant, you can pass some exams on the EMP side, and there's some Prince qualifications for project management, and you can see yourself in project management, which I personally don't like actually, because the project management is sometimes when there's a cost cutting scenarios, when like there's a corona and all that stuff. So the project managers was the first to start losing their jobs actually. So I don't recommend being a project manager. Support consultants are like, they again, some business analyst becomes the part of the support. So they support on the daily basis to the customer. Customers are facing some issues, some problems in the ERP, they're facing some issues in the transactions. So the support consultants help them. Pre-sales consulting is like the next level actually. So pre-sales consulting is the people who go to customers. They sell ERPs. They convince them. I mean, they're knowledgeable guys. They know the processes, and they are very effective communicators. They are not like they cannot. This guy cannot be a dumb guy. There has to be very smart personality, and he know the answers, and he know how to convince the other part, other person sitting on the other side of the table. He know the pain points, and he know the remedies and the solution and the medicine he has to give. Otherwise, if he is not the good person, I mean the good consultant, your company will suffer. You will not be able to close the deals, right? So the pre-sales consulting comes when the people get senior, like after 6 years, 7 years of consulting, they can start doing the pre-sales consulting. They can pitch solutions. They become part of the estimates and the project plans and the delivery and the costing and all this stuff. Technical consultants or the developers are, they develop solutions, and they work on automation and the report development, customization, and all these things come under the technical consulting. And then we have the solution architects. Again, the pre-sales consulting and solution architect are almost the same level, but the solution architects are more at the implementation side or the project delivery side. They're more towards on the giving the actual solutions to customers. The only problem in the pre-sales consulting is that sometimes they lie, you know.
Yeah.
they give the solution that they don't exist. So
they dream about the solution.
And the solution architects is the person who will give you the actual solution.
Yeah, this is why I think the pre-sales consulting, as you said, Mustafa, has been somebody who has credibility and has the experience to do the right proposed solution for the customer. But
so
I like
as I'm being the like solution architect plus a pre-sales consultant. So even if I go and go and lie in a pre-sales consulting, I get stuck in solution architect.
Gonna fire you back.
Yeah. So
I like the way you have divided into categories that what they have to start with. Yes, so nice. They have to first know what you mean by ERP. So you advise them to take first step to know more about the systems and take more trainings, let us say, since the university doesn't give them this opportunity to learn during the university time about ERP and CRM. So we have the first step to take the training and then actually start to see him or herself within each position, functional. I think here we can cover, as Muhammad said before, a lot of majors. So if you are from business background, from marketing, let us say, so we have a different categories, a different kind of majors that can occupy in the positions here. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
Actually, what do you would like to add something, Muhammad?
I like the way the category and the different also lines of the career for ERP and CRM consultant, and I liked also the recommendation of Mustafa not to touch much the project, because the project managers are the first. So what we, in order to be very beneficial in this session, we recommend and we propose also for all the students or all the people that they consultant, they are struggling finding good work, to focus on functional and technical consultant in the beginning, because this is the first step towards, so functional and technical, they will not be consultant from the beginning, but they will work on functional side or technical sides. And this is why we have, in our case, since the beginning, we had business and technical track in our learning.
Yes.
So we know this, if anybody wants to learn ERP, they can go into business or technical, they have to decide. It's very well, it's very needed. There is a big demand. If you go now with all happening all over the world in COVID-19 and then everything happening, if you go to jobs, you will see that the ERP jobs are the most demanded yet, because there is a lot of demand. Still, there is no available resources. We wish.
I have.
Mustafa.
Yeah, I have some tips for the new guys. Is like since academics doesn't give them a real flavor for the business processes. So I think they can use online research and the Google, just to learn about the business processes. I mean, if you want to see yourself as an ERP consultant, right? You just at least know what is the purchase process, what is the sales process. I'm not saying you become expert on the day one. You should be at least well aware of what is the purchasing cycle, what is the sales cycle. Again, you need to be you need to understand your designations, like what is the role of the purchasing manager, what's the role of finance controller, who's finance manager, what's the role of accountant, right? So as an ERP consultant, when you sit with these guys, you know what kind of job you do, right? What kind of duties you have, rather than you start asking him what exactly you do. So he's a finance manager. I mean, every finance manager do these kind of jobs, right? Also, for the new guys, I would suggest terminologies. I used to have some, maybe like, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I bought a dictionary, or it's called a business dictionary, okay, which give us the terminologies like, what do you mean by vendor? What do you mean by supplier, right? You can differentiate from quotation. You can, what is the order? What is the pro forma invoice? What is the sales invoice? What is the tax invoice? What do you mean by milestone? What do you mean by sign off? All these terminologies you should be well aware of, as if you are interested in being a consultant, you should be well aware of. Like, for example, in the CRM, it's very easy to understand what is lead and opportunity and quotation for us, because we know. But for the new guy, he will be confused for, let's say, several days, 3 days and 4 days. What's the difference between lead and opportunity, right? So he can use some, maybe books or maybe online reading material, or maybe any trainings that he can understand. And I would suggest to grab an opportunity. Start from a very small company if you get an opportunity. I know, people out there, they dream for big jobs. They dream for big companies. In big companies, you learn processes, you learn maybe big implementation, but in a small company, you learn about the product, you learn about the basics, you learn about mostly, like, for example, I started with a very small company. It was like 10 to 15 people were working over there. So I was the one who was doing pre-sales, who was doing installation for the ERP, who was doing the data migration, who was doing the configuration, who was doing the documentation, who was doing the support, who was doing the after-sales support, answering the emails, even looking for the estimates. Sometimes, you have to do those kind of jobs which were you never expected, or you were not expecting.
This is where you learn.
You were supposed to do.
This is the best.
When you start with the big companies, when you start with big companies, so every person has the specific job and responsibilities. So you'll miss out those experiences actually. So that's my suggestion to.
And I just add to the suggestion of Mustafa, which is really, really important. I hope that all the people that will watch this video, they will get benefit of that. And I recommend, if they can also work for a period of time as part-time, as a user, it will be for them an excellent experience. And I personally, I was a consultant when I was also functional consultant in my mid-career. I was doing on Saturday, supporting my friend who has a company, and he bought Dynamics. I went to them. It was not support because I was being paid also, but it was the amount, it was neglected. So I was going there and filling purchase orders and doing all these entries. So I understood properly the benefit and the way the users see the ERP for them. So how they want the ERP for them to facilitate the ERP, the approach, their vision. I looked from the eyes of the user, because this is very important. The implementer, most of the time, he sees the solutions very easy. When he do also the training, he expects that the others, they know the solution like that. It's different. The user will see the ERP for them. It's a mystery. It's something really hard, something really scary. So I also suggest for all the people who are going to work as a consultant to work for a period of time, even free, as 2 hours per day maybe, or 2 hours a week as a user, just to feel this, to know what is the feeling of being user or on the ERP.
And I think sometimes users which are like smart enough, because they're not aware of that ERP as a consulting field. I have seen few accountants and a few consultants in my career that they switch from the accounting to as a consultant.
Yeah.
So they are like they're more they explain to the customer in a more proper way, because they were the users actually. So they were sitting on that side of the table, and they, when they came over here, they know what exactly the pain on the other side.
Yeah, nice. Actually, it's 1 o'clock Beirut time. It's, I think, 2 p.m. UAE time. Actually,
really?
Yeah.
Yes. So our 1 hour session went to 2 hours.
It was fast. Yeah, it was fast and really interesting session, Mustafa. I would like from my side to thank you much for this informative, very pro session, rich of information. You were a real, I'm really amazed. Our very professional guest. It was an honor for us to have you. This is from my side. Thank you much for all everything, and I will leave the floor to Sinar.
I will thank you, both of you, Muhammad and Mustafa. A special thanks for Mustafa actually for today, and the topic covered is so important, and for me also to know more details about the finance part especially. And thanks for the suggestions and recommendations that you give it to us regarding the students, how to start their career. We are looking forward for the new generation actually to start positively and take a step and find the right jobs in their career life. Actually, thanks again, Mustafa. Hope to see you with our next sessions. Actually, on Wednesdays, it's fixed on Wednesdays. So we always said
every two Wednesday, every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
right?
2 weeks. Yes.
We're gonna make available the video after end of the
Yes.
day. So tomorrow morning you can share it with. We'll send you all information.
All right.
Sure.
By tomorrow morning, I will share it with you. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Actually, and you can share it on your social media also. As we always said, that we are ready to talk ERP and CRM. Stay safe, stay healthy, and don't stop talking ERP and CRM. Have a good day.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sinar.
Mustafa. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.